If Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce really move into Montecito, Harry and Meghan may be about to discover the most brutal rule in celebrity real estate. You can buy a mansion, but you cannot buy cultural dominance. The couple, who once sold California as their ultimate escape from royal pressure, could suddenly find themselves living in the shadow of a superstar whose arrival would completely rewrite the social map of their own neighborhood. And now, the whispers are getting louder. Their sprawling 9-bedroom Montecito estate, once presented as the permanent sanctuary where their California chapter would supposedly last forever, is suddenly surrounded by speculation about a possible sale. Coincidence? Maybe, but in Hollywood, when the timing becomes this deliciously uncomfortable, people start asking questions. Why now? Why this neighborhood? And why does the potential arrival of Taylor Swift feel less like a house hunt and more like an earthquake beneath the Sussex brand?
So is it really a coincidence that as Prince Harry and Meghan Markle are quietly trying to hawk their Montecito home without putting it on the market and going through the embarrassment of having to do that, we learned Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce, two of their sworn Hollywood enemies, could be looking...
The irony is almost too perfect. Harry and Meghan reportedly left behind the historic royal environment because they wanted freedom, privacy, control, and distance from the relentless noise surrounding their lives. Montecito was supposed to be the answer. A secluded fortress, a glamorous retreat, a place where they could construct a new identity far away from Buckingham Palace, royal protocol, and the family drama that had followed them across the Atlantic. But what happens when the very celebrity culture they entered suddenly changes around them? What happens when the biggest pop star on the planet starts looking at property in the same exclusive enclave? Suddenly, the carefully constructed Montecito fantasy looks a lot less secure.
What if I told you that one of the most famous celebrity homes in America is quietly changing hands behind the scenes? Not through any flashy real estate listing. No. Not through any public announcement. Not through a press release. That's just not what they're going to do. But through the kind of secret of an off-market deal that wealthy celebrities use when they don't want the public knowing their plans. Now, does that sound like something that maybe Harry and Meghan would do? Yeah.
For years, Harry and Meghan were able to occupy a strange position in Montecito. They were not technically working royals anymore, but they still carried the gravitational pull of royal fame. Their arrival transformed them into instant fixtures of the celebrity landscape. They could present themselves as private residents while remaining endlessly fascinating to newspapers, television commentators, photographers, and royal watchers. Montecito became more than an address. It became part of their story. It represented independence. It represented reinvention. It represented the promise that they had escaped the old institution and created something better on their own terms. Then came Taylor Swift, and suddenly the arithmetic changes.
I wonder how Meghan Markle is feeling today, because today was supposed to be her big day, the launch of her second season of With Love, Meghan on Netflix, but this may have been overshadowed by, of course, the biggest entertainment news of the year. Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce are engaged. Andrew, do we know how Meghan has reacted?
Well, it is interesting, isn't it? Taylor Swift was very swift indeed to basically trounce Meghan's announcement of her second series. And after 2 years of dating, the couple shared the exciting news through a joint post on Instagram on Tuesday, the 26th of August. You saw that. They had a massive antique sparkler, which I reckon was worth about $550,000, according to my sources.
Wow.
But Meghan, together with William and also Kate, they all put the like on the Taylor Swift Instagram post to say that they liked it, even though Meghan felt a bit sort of upstaged, I think. What's interesting, though, is the wonderful flowers, the garden where they got engaged. I think Meghan missed a trick because she's obsessed with these flower sprinklers. She could have turned around and launched the series and said, using the very Taylor Swift flowers coming to your season very, very soon. And for $240,000, you can get them delivered.
There you go. Yes, you're right.
The media immediately transformed the possibility into a glamorous showdown, but the real story is not necessarily a literal property battle. It is the terrifying possibility of a cultural hierarchy changing right outside Harry and Meghan's front door. Taylor Swift does not need to explain her relevance. She does not need to remind people people that she is famous. She does not need carefully engineered whispers about where she was invited or who wants to meet her. Her influence arrives before she does. Her concerts fill enormous stadiums. Her fan base spans generations. Her name moves markets, dominates headlines, and turns ordinary events into global spectacles. That creates an uncomfortable contrast for Harry and Meghan because their entire post-royal strategy has depended on controlling their own narrative. Interviews, documentaries, podcasts, books, appearances, statements, and carefully timed public moments have repeatedly placed their story at the center of attention. But Taylor Swift represents something fundamentally different, attention that does not have to be manufactured. And that distinction could become explosive, because if Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce choose Montecito, the neighborhood celebrity spotlight could shift instantly. Harry and Meghan would still have their mansion. They would still have their titles. They would still have their security. But the question would become brutally simple: who actually commands the room? Then there is the history between Taylor Swift and Meghan Markle, and this is where the gossip gets considerably more uncomfortable. According to the narrative surrounding the Sussexes, Meghan once personally reached out to Taylor Swift about appearing on her Archetypes podcast. The significance of that alleged approach is not merely that one celebrity invited another. It is who was being asked. Taylor Swift is arguably one of the most influential entertainment figures alive, while Meghan was attempting to build a media identity after leaving royal duties. And Taylor Swift reportedly said no, not with some explosive public feud, not with a dramatic statement, just a rejection. Sometimes silence is louder than an argument. Then came another alleged attempt to establish contact, this time around one of Taylor Swift's concerts. The story claims Meghan wanted backstage access and was turned away with an explanation that Taylor Swift was resting her voice. That detail became especially provocative because Taylor Swift has been photographed sharing backstage moments with other major celebrities, including Beyonce. Suddenly, commentators were left wondering whether the voice rest explanation was really about scheduling or whether it represented something much more deliberate. And now the speculation takes another turn. If Taylor Swift is genuinely considering Montecito as a place to build a family life with Travis Kelce, then this is not simply another celebrity purchase. It could become a symbolic collision between two completely different versions of fame. But the Montecito speculation becomes even more uncomfortable when the conversation moves beyond property and into the wider pattern surrounding Harry and Meghan's public image. Because this is not the first time their California dream has collided with a brutal reality check. Look at the Invictus Games. What was originally designed as an extraordinary platform for wounded veterans has increasingly become surrounded by questions about money, publicity, attendance, and whether the Sussex brand has become larger than the cause itself. Commentary from Tom Bauer has intensified those questions, particularly around the enormous expense associated with the games and the contrast between the money being spent and the visible turnout. The Vancouver event was staged inside a huge, expensive venue, yet images showing sparsely occupied sections created an uncomfortable visual that no public relations strategy could completely erase. Then came the money questions. The UK government pledged £29 million toward the 2027 Birmingham Games, with expectations surrounding additional corporate fundraising. Yet, reports and commentary question whether the organization could generate the level of private support required. When major companies such as Boeing appear to step away, people naturally begin asking why. Is the Sussex Association helping the brand, or has it become a liability? That question becomes particularly damaging when critics point toward lavish travel, expensive accommodation, private jets, and Meghan's highly scrutinized appearances alongside veterans. The optics become explosive because the organization is supposed to be about service, sacrifice, and wounded competitors, not celebrity spectacle. And this is where the Montecito property story suddenly feels much bigger than a house. The same criticism keeps appearing in different forms. The Sussexes present themselves as independent power players, yet critics argue that their ventures repeatedly depend upon publicity to maintain momentum. They want privacy, yet their lives remain surrounded by carefully managed public narratives. They want commercial independence, yet every major project is judged by whether audiences still care. They wanted a permanent California sanctuary, yet now speculation about selling the mansion keeps resurfacing. That is why the word unsuccessful has become such a vicious punchline among critics. It captures the perception that every grand reinvention eventually produces another controversy. When Harry and Meghan purchased the Montecito estate in 2020, the property was presented as the foundation of their new life. This was supposed to be the forever home. The escape was complete. The royal chapter was supposedly behind them. They had freedom, wealth, privacy, security, and an enormous platform platform. But forever is a dangerous word when your entire public identity depends on constant reinvention. And then there is the relentless comparison with Diana. Critics have accused Meghan of repeatedly borrowing elements associated with Princess Diana, from fashion choices to carefully staged imagery and nostalgic visual symbolism. The accusation is not merely that Meghan admired Diana, it is that she attempted to occupy the emotional space Diana left behind while simultaneously separating herself from the institution Diana once inhabited. To critics, that contradiction is impossible to ignore. The same problem allegedly follows Meghan's media ambitions. Projects such as Cookie Queens have become part of the broader debate about whether the entertainment industry still sees the Sussexes as major commercial draws. When theatrical performance, audience reaction, and industry attention fail to match the enormous expectations surrounding their names, the gap becomes glaring. Meanwhile, Taylor Swift can release music, videos, appearances, or seemingly casual content and generate enormous attention without explaining why anyone should care. That is the difference between manufactured visibility and organic obsession, and Hollywood understands that difference better than anyone. When the industry believes you matter, doors open before you knock. Invitations arrive. Producers return calls. Executives want meetings. When that belief disappears, the silence becomes deafening. Nobody has to announce that you have fallen out of favor. The empty chair tells the story. The unanswered message tells the story. The invitation that never arrives tells the story. So if Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce eventually choose Montecito, perhaps the most uncomfortable possibility is not that Harry and Meghan will be forced to sell their mansion. They may not be forced to do anything at all. The real possibility is far more humiliating. They could remain exactly where they are while watching the center of attention move somewhere else. The mansion could stay. The gates could stay. The security could stay. The cameras could stay. But the spotlight? That may belong to somebody else now. And if the Montecito dream was built around escaping one royal hierarchy, the Sussexes may soon discover that California has hierarchies of its own, and this time, no title can guarantee the top position.